Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome to the channel and to day 3 of reading the first chapter of the Unread books I've got on my bookshelves. So carrying on from where I started on Monday, I'm going through the 28 books that are on my bookshelves that I've not read any of, whether it's book 1 in a series or a first chapter sample in a previous video. There were 28 books remaining once I excluded those. I've split them up into 5 batches that we're going to run through each day this week. Today is batch 3. I've got my selection of books here ready to go, and first off, it's a return to me, or for me, to a character I really enjoyed and haven't read in a long time. This is Oath of Fealty by Elizabeth Moon, and this continues the story I started in The Deed of Paxenarian. Took me a while to find chapter 1. There's a what has gone before, so a reminder, a 2-page reminder in quite small font of the overall story from The Deed of Paxenarian, so that'll serve as a good reminder. I've got this one on audiobook. When I was sampling it, I did actually listen to that, so I'm up to speed and I don't need that at the moment. This was very small font all through the book. Here it is in very, very tiny font. You do get that with some of these older fantasies that were traditionally published, at least. This one's not too old, but it's old enough, I guess. Was it, I don't know what year it was. It's not on the copyright page. There it is, 2010, so it's not too old, but there we go. With this one, we don't really get too much. There's a few pages, bearing in mind the size of the font as well, so plenty of words there, but not a lot of, I guess, substance in terms of moving a story forward. We are told basically that, I can't remember if this was in the previous series, The Deed of Paxenarian, but a king of a neighbouring country has died without an heir. Paxenarian has gone out to find the new king, basically. She answered the call. She's a paladin, and if I remember rightly, she's got certain powers that come with that. She goes to answer the call, basically, to find a king. She's found the king. It turns out it's the Duke, who we find ourselves on a castle, basically, with these soldiers, and it's their Duke who has been announced as the king. So they're going to form a cohort to go out and meet him, because the Duke isn't at the castle at the moment, and serve as extra protection, basically. So we've not really got too much story. It's just all about them finding the news, reacting to it, making plans to get people together and go out onto the road to meet up with the Duke or King. It's a military fantasy. I do remember that from The Deed of Paxenarian. Although she's not in this first chapter, she's just mentioned, so I don't know how big a part she plays or whether it's more other characters who come to the forefront. I don't know, but I really enjoyed The Deed of Paxenarian. This one's very easy reading from the first chapter, even though not a lot happens in it, but I'm excited to get back into this world and this character and see where this one goes. I'm going to go for a much shorter but also newer story. Now this one is Path of Blades by R.E. Sanders, and I was remembering this one. I've just just confirmed for myself looking through it. There's no page numbers to this book, so I don't know how many pages I'm going to be reading, but the first chapter is coming up. This was a weird one. It just looks weird where it's just 2 walls of text essentially. You've got paragraphs in there, but there's nothing on the page except for the actual body text of the book. No page numbers, no ornamentation or anything. You know, there are scene break ornamentations. I don't even know why I'm showing you that, because it's quite faint as well. It's not going to show up. And there are obviously chapter titlings as applicable, but yeah, a little bit strange there. You don't see that very often. This is another military, it's kind of a Norse inspired kind of setting is how it comes across, how it feels. We're in a battle, we've got a character, and then his kind of childhood friend who's also fighting shows up as well. They survive, they win the day basically, and they're saying, why do they keep trying? Why is the war continuing essentially? And then his friend says that you know, he would miss it if they weren't doing this every day, and he wouldn't be able to spend as much time with her as well, is what he's thinking. So there's not a lot that goes on beyond that, but there's a nice little hook at the end where it says basically literally the last line of a chapter as they're walking into their encampment basically. It says there should have been no more death that day. So presumably there is going to be more. Why is there going to be more? What form is it going to take? Who's it going to be? And so forth. It's quite an intriguing hook. The chapter itself was well written. The author, I know from his social media, he knows how to wield a sword. That comes across in the writing. I always like that because you've got the kind of familiarity. You've got, if you know your way around weapons, basically, it's a bit more, I guess, realistic, believable when you're writing about them. Obviously, you've not fought in a war, I assume, not this sort of war, certainly, but it just helps you to be able to write it fluidly and, one suggests, accurately. Before my throat goes, I'll shut up and do some more reading. So this one is another of the books that's on my 2024 reading plan. This is Rise of the Mages, get it right, by Scott Drakeford. It's called Rise of the Mages, so maybe that gives it away, but there's quite a bit of magical, I guess, terminology in here. Infusory, is it? Comes up a few times in this opening prologue. We're not told, unless I missed it, what that is, but that's by the by. So we've got this mage who is given a position, but he's told that he describes it as being a kind of a prison rather than anything else. What is it? Keeper of a Temple of the Fallen. And he's got this understudy who is basically his slave. He's created this spell, I believe it is, rather than anything else, this kind of construct which allows him to take over the person's mind, basically. He's a mindless slave, and they would kill him basically if they find out that he's done this, despite how remarkable it is, the most advanced magic any of them in their lifetime will have ever seen. But that wouldn't mind it, that wouldn't matter. It's what the magic does that would take precedence, I guess. So he's seeing this weird light. He sends his slave out to investigate what it is, and then this pulsing light, there's an explosion from it basically. It looks like the slave has been killed in the blast, and this mage goes out and he sees this slab of stone, and it's a throne with a statue on it, but it's actually a living statue. It starts moving and talking to him, and it's the god of the fallen, or is it the god of fallen glory? And he says basically, you are mine. You're going to be my voice, my messenger. A son of glory has taken his first breath, so we're going to have to test this son of glory, basically, and make him what he needs to be. So there's I mean, it's a prologue. It serves very well as a prologue in that sense. I'm not sure what the idea is, because you got chapter 1 is 3 years later. However, in between the prologue and chapter 1, we got a chapter 0. So I don't know what the thought process is there. I'll find out at some point, because I'm going to be reading this one in full. I don't know, in a couple of months, I guess. I've got a sci-fi next, a self-published sci-fi. This is a local to me author, as it happens, but this one is Riebekite. I don't know if that's, it's a word I've heard before. I don't know if it's an element or a type of stone or something. I guess I'll find out in the book. But it's Riebekite by O.R. Lee. This one I've kind of not been too sure on, because it's a near future sci-fi. I tend to go for more far future and not set on Earth, which far future tends to help with. But the prologue here is set in 2056, so very much a near future sci-fi. So it's near future, as I say. With this one, just in a couple of years' time, as far as we are at the moment, 2027, an asteroid called Riebekite, I think it is, strikes the moon, and the moon is left with a ring and a ribbon, basically. So there's a ring around it now, and there's a trail of dust or rock kind of coming down towards the Earth, basically, which is presumably what's described as this ribbon. And there's all of this blue dust in the air that's essentially poisonous. You breathe it in and you can or will, I'm not sure if there's a can or if it's just a will, die from it. So yeah, very much a changed world, even though it's not too far into the future. You've got a group of people in it looks like apartment buildings, basically, and there's a bonfire going on. There's kind of a racism kind of element to it. You've got Iranians and Azeri, and from what I gather, they're sort of throwing out the Iranians, basically, and taking over their buildings. And you've got these Azeri who are throwing furniture out and they're putting them onto a bonfire. And then there's a woman who's thrown out of a balcony, thrown off a balcony onto the bonfire, built from her own furniture, it's saying. So yeah, it's very tense kind of undertones that you've got going on in here. I don't know what the actual story is going to be. That isn't really explained. It's not really foreshadowed too much. It's just more a case of setting the scene, telling us the way the world is, I guess, at the moment, after you've had this moon kind of event, basically, with the asteroid hitting it. Last one for today, or for this particular batch, is another big beastie one. This is We Break Immortals by Thomas Howard Riley. There's a contents page here without page numbers on it. I'm not really sure what's going on in this one. There's a magic book by the sounds of it. There's someone who's kind of seen the light. He kind of suggests, and he's called these people to him, and they go there and attack this group basically. And he's kind of reading this book and trying to get protection from it. So whether it's a spell book or a religious text, I'm not entirely sure. But basically, it doesn't go very well, and he dies. And the person who's kind of the point of view character who's watching this, his friend, is there saying, you know, he was a good boy, he always was. So there's not really too much that happens in there, but it gives us a bit of an idea about some of the magic. There's like the first person who, yeah, hello, hi, trying to talk here, you know. Yeah, I know you're more important, but just let me finish up, will you? It's the first person who charges an invisible projectile, takes him in the chest and kills him. There's some of the magic is actually shown like that, and it was quite interesting. I like that you don't get too much of it. You have enough to pique your interest, but not enough to learn all about the magic and what it is and what it's capable of and what the limitations are and so forth. That's what I want from an opening chapter in terms of magic and world building. I don't want all the intricacies of it. I just want to have something grip my attention, and then I can learn more about it as I progress through. In this instance, quite a sizable book, bearing in mind it's also quite small font in this in that book as well. So yeah, lots of words in that particular one. That's it for today. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and what you think I should expect as I continue, and what you think I'm going to enjoy from these. I'll hopefully see you in the next video coming up on the channel soon. Until then, as always, take care of yourselves, read some good books. Bye for now.